The Vikings would do great on a field that was just 10 or 20 yards shorter. It's just when they get down, they don't have the knockout guy. They have to go to this rookie Fenny who has no speed. Then you have DJ Dozier made that pathetic attempt at leaping over the line, which Okowicz completely wrecked. That caused the field goal. The Vikings just, for the first 90 yards, they're Secretariat. For the last 10, they're Mr. Ed.
Even Wilbur had trouble on the day. One thing, you know, when they're winning big in all those other games, like against New Orleans and against San Francisco, Chuck Nelson had 2 field goals in the New Orleans game when the team was inside the 15. He had 3 field goals when the team was inside the 10 against San Francisco. They scored a lot of points. Nobody noticed. But sooner or later, inability to score inside the 10 cost them. It cost them a trip to the Super Bowl. And so we move on NFL Primetime, as it's the Redskins who are moving on to the Super Bowl. We're moving on with more analysis of the NFC game. We'll update you on the AFC when we return. The upset of the year in the AFC Championship game, because we've done a complete section of the show and nobody has scored. 5:14 left at Mile High Stadium. The Broncos have the ball on their own 24-yard line, beginning maybe a drive, and the Broncos and the Browns are tied at 31 all. But back to the NFC Championship game, where our Alan Massengill was on hand at RFK Stadium. It wasn't a show of offensive beauty today down in Washington, but let's face it, the Redskins fans, I guess, Alan, will take it, right?
They'll take it. We've been deserted here, Chris. They're all down in Georgetown whooping it up right now, I want to tell you. And, of course, it was not a pretty offensive show. A whole lot of sacking going on out here today. And as you mentioned, the Redskins' defense looked good, but the Vikings' defense looked good, too. But an interesting statistic. Back in 1984, if you remember, the 49ers had 9 sacks. That was an NFL playoff record, and they dominated the Bears 23-0. It wasn't that way out here today because both teams had to rely on big plays on offense. You know, the Vikings got the play to Steve Jordan and then got the touchdown to Leo Lewis, and then it was Williams being frustrated all day. The difference was Williams didn't wind up eating dirt all day long like Wade Wilson did. He had to go to Kelvin Bryant early, and then later on he got the big plays from Gary Clark. But you want to talk about the defense? That's what everybody else was talking about. The big 8 sacks. So we went to the locker room, and a look of shock a little bit from the Vikings because they just really couldn't get anything going, as Tom Jackson mentioned, with the running backs in there. They just didn't have any choice but to try to throw the ball up a whole lot, and there was Wilson back there totally helpless. So here's the reaction from the locker room.
We're just absolutely thrilled, the Redskins are, and it's a great experience. I was nervous probably from Monday on. The whole team was probably about this game. About Wednesday, we just all wanted to go play it because you're so uptight, but you can't do that. And a lot of emotion in this, and we're thrilled. We want to do our part now and represent the NFC the right way.
They believed in me, and they knew that I'm the type of guy that's going to hang in there. I'm going to get banged around, but I'm going to hang in the last second. And they was concerned late in the game when I had hurt my shoulder, but they knew if anybody was going to battle, it was going to be me, and everything worked out towards the end.
We didn't play well against the Vikings the last time we played them, and we felt that as a defensive unit, we have to rise to the occasion. And I felt that our whole defense done that all day.
The guy who wasn't supposed to play got injured last week on a play where nobody touched me at all and came in and was a part of a big play at the end. I can only give God the praise and glory for it.
Can you describe that play here? What position you were in? What happened?
It was a zone situation where AC, I guess, was going to clear me out and let the back get out there and catch the ball. Where, you know, to clear a guy out, you got to have some real estate, and he kind of ran out of real estate, and apparently the D-line had put some pressure, and by the time he ran out of real estate, I had time to let him go and look back, came back on the play, and it worked out good for us.
They mixed the defenses around and made it hard for us to audible, and you know, the crowd noise was somewhat of a problem, but you have to give them a lot of credit because they really prepared well and played with a lot of intensity.
Talk about going to the Super Bowl now, Doug. 2 weeks to think about it, but tell us about the feeling.
I don't think it's set in at this particular moment. I think tomorrow, later on tonight, with no sleep, a lot of things will set in, and you just go from there.
For a veteran like you, over all the years and all the frustrations to finally get to this point, it's got to be the climax for you.
Well, for a veteran like me, this opportunity is still like a kid in the candy store for the first time because I've never been to the Super Bowl, and it's going to be exciting.
So as we mentioned, both teams got the scant few big plays on offense, but it was the big play defense really turning things around for the Redskins. Dexter Manley, Dave Butts had those big meat hooks up in the air all day long. And, of course, Mel Kaufman with the big interception. And Darrell Green, a guy that wasn't even supposed to play, had a great day at cornerback, and he was in there on the end there, although you saw the drop in the highlights earlier that would have given the Vikings at least a first down and a chance for us to go into overtime. But Darrell Green coming up with a big play in the end. Now, one final note, Wade Wilson told us in the locker room that because of the home field advantage, he could not hear. And the offensive linemen, the two tackles, were looking in, and as they were looking in, Manley was jumping into the quarterback's face most of the time because he couldn't go into the shotgun formation at all. If you notice, they couldn't go to the shotgun, and they couldn't audible on the line because of the noise. So if it comes to defense in the big games, then the Redskins should be set in San Diego, Chris.
Listen, you had that red scarf on earlier today. You know, now with it on in the darkness, it lets us find you. So we're glad you wore it today, and we'll see you out in San Diego.
Okay, Chris, look forward to it.
Where you don't need the scarf, all right? But you can bring it nevertheless.
I will not need it. I will bring it. Some Hog fans tried to take it from me to take it down to Georgetown and wave it around. Instead of the terrible towel, they'll have the terrible red scarf in the stands down there.
Oh, not those Hog fans. They wouldn't do something like that. Nice job, Al. We'll see you.
Okay, Chris.
All right, Alan Massengale now gets to come in out of the dark, finally, outside of RFK Stadium. And here's Doug Williams, who just did not put the numbers up, did not play well, but he's going to the Super Bowl.
It's certainly a thrill to go to the Super Bowl, regardless of how you get there. One noticeable thing today, Doug Williams didn't play well today, and this is normally the kind of game that he's used to losing, but with the supporting cast he has now, he must feel really good that they can pull a game out like this for him.
All right, and well, let's update you right now at Mile High Stadium in Denver. 20-yard pass from Elway to Sammy Winder for a touchdown. There's Carlos at the point after. It's good, and the Broncos lead the Cleveland Browns 38-31, but it's like the last team that has the ball wins. But you know that if you're watching the game. So stay with us here. We'll tell you what happened. And we also will continue to analyze the NFC Championship game. Plenty more prime time coming up. So stay with us, won't you? Leading by 5. It was the Broncos leading by 5, and guess what? They won it by 5. And just an emotion-packed game at Mile High Stadium. The Denver Broncos, in their second straight tussle for the AFC Championship against the Cleveland Browns, for the second straight time said, Browns, close, but you're not going to the Super Bowl. We are, the Broncos. A beautiful day at Mile High Stadium. Sometimes in the middle of January, you don't get this type of weather, but you know, you can take the shirt off and get some rays. And on the game's opening drive, as the fans said, pound the Cleveland Dogs, Bernie Kosar's pass dropped by Webster Slaughter, hits Dennis Smith, intercepted by Freddie Gilbert. And in Denver, these things happen. You turn the ball over if you're a visitor. And 18 yards and 5 play. John Elway has time to get a coffee, a donut, whatever else he wants, and also finds Ricky Nattil for a touchdown, 7-0 Broncos. Second Cleveland possession. Kevin Mack keeps going forward, but Tony Lilly, number 22, forces the fumble. Steve Wilson recovers for Denver. 2 Cleveland drive, 2 turnovers in Denver. This stuff happens. Marty Schottenheimer said, you know, maybe we needed a year to get used to the altitude. John Elway will pitch to Gene Lang, and Lang gets the block, and he could go all the way. Not quite all the way, but it's down to the Cleveland 10.
Very surprising how well the Broncos ran the football against Cleveland, especially in the first half of this football game.
A Cleveland third down penalty keeps the drive alive, and on the reverse, Steve Sewell, touchdown, 14-0 Broncos. It looks like a runaway in front of the home folks. Second quarter tempers flare. Chris Rockins with a late hit on Elway. Maybe the Browns getting frustrated. The players got involved, quickly broken up, and Elway looking around for the flag right there. And the Broncos and Browns inquiring how everyone's relatives have been doing over the holidays. 14-3 Denver, and Lang goes in from the 1-yard line. 21-3 Broncos at the half. Dan Reeves is doing a dance with Elway. Marty Schottenheimer is doing something else. But in the third quarter, everything starts to change. Because as Elway scrambles, he just figures everything's going his way. He might as well throw it. But Felix the Cat Wright makes the interception right here, reaches into his bag of tricks, and the Browns hope to have some life. Cleveland will capitalize as Bernie Kosar completed his first 10 passes of the second half. Hits Reggie Langhorne for 18 yards over the middle. It's 21-10. But Elway comes right back, and one of the best plays you shall ever see in this or any other year. Elway hemmed in by the Browns pass rush, buys time, almost sacked, runs into his own blocker, Stephen Humphries, gets it to Mark Jackson. He jukes one tackle, makes another one. Now he has a first down. Now he's going to get knocked out of bounds. No! He could go all the way. 80 yards. Let's get him go. 28-10. The Broncos lead the Browns. And in the stands and on the field, two of the three amigos celebrating. There's Vance Johnson's number 82. He couldn't play. Again, the Browns refuse to fold. Kosar steps up in the pocket. And look at Fernie. They say he can't move. The touch pass to Ernest Biner. He does go all the way, 33 yards. The Browns are not dead. They're down by 11 again, 28-17. Fernie throwing for 356 yards on the day. Momentum now on Cleveland's side. Ernest Biner from the 4-yard line. Gets the handoff, goes right in the middle for a touchdown. It's 28-24. Carlos hits a field goal, 31-24 Denver after 3. In the 4th, it is Kosar to Ernest Biner. Biner, who has had such a big day until the end. He goes 53 yards before Lilly brings him down at the Denver 27-yard line. And this sets up, a few plays later, Kosar from the 5. To Webster Slaughter, kind of the same play that Elway did Jackson last year on the drive, right? Exactly. 31 all. Late in the 4th quarter, Denver driving. Elway from the 20-yard line to Sammy Winder gets a nice screen from the ref, a nice block, and a pretty good run by Mr. Winder as he goes into the end zone. 20-yard touchdown, 38-31. But the Browns are not dead at all. They drive inside the 10-yard line. There's Elway's numbers. And Ernest Biner, who was such a hero up until now. Biner looks like he's going to go in for the tying score. But right there, Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Jeremiah Castile causes the fumble at the 3-yard line. Marty Schottenheimer and Biner, and the Browns cannot believe it. And the safety, of course, came in the last few seconds of the ball game with a 7-point lead, electing not to punt out of the end zone. Moran will take the snap, as you can in your living room right here. And he said, whoa, a one-hopper, I'm out of here. And so that he tries to use up as much time and pace for it as he can to make it 38-33. And the free punt and one Hail Mary that got down to the 20-yard line. And, phew, what a ball game as the Broncos defeat the Cleveland Browns 38-33. And, Tommy, let's face it, at halftime, everybody in Denver, Orange Crush Land, was celebrating. It looked simple. You got to give the Browns a heck of a lot of credit, and they scored the touchdown. Who knows, they might still be playing.
Certainly, Schottenheimer and Kosar made adjustments at halftime, came out, played well, showed that not-give-up attitude, and I'd look for these two teams to be around for a long time battling each other for championships.
Rivalry, both squads were saying, well, this isn't a rivalry, but when you play head-to-head back-to-back years for the AFC title, this is maybe a rivalry that has been born the last couple of years. Two tremendous games. And one, you know, in Denver, you look at it, actually say, typical mile-high stadium. But Cleveland had the fortitude to come back, but just not in the cards, I guess.
Well, not in Ernest Biner's cards anyway. He couldn't get over the goal line. But I think there's nothing more demoralizing. Someday I'll learn this, that you can't pick against John Elway. He's so demoralizing. The sequence I thought was typical of this game was at one point in the 3rd period, it's 3rd and inches. Denver's holding. Now it's back to 3rd and 10. That's the kind of breaks you turn a game around. What happens? The Browns put on a tremendous pass rush. They have Elway cornered 15 more yards behind the line. Somehow he gets free. He hits Jackson with that pass, and Jackson makes that little spin move and goes for the touchdown. This is what he does. That man could absolutely drive you crazy. The only time he drove me more crazy, well, wasn't really his fault. I bet on him in the Super Bowl. He did his job, and the rest of them forgot about it.
He certainly did his...
Certain linebackers really play awful.
I don't know who, of course, you were talking about. And so the Denver Broncos going to the Super Bowl for the 2nd time in a row. And the 2 times the teams have repeated after losing a Super Bowl, they have won. How have Denver and Washington stacked up over the years? Well, they haven't played that many times. There's the series, tied at 2-2. There's our Jim Gray. Remember the last time he had the entire Bronco team come over and say hello to him? Jimmy is out there, and what I'm sure is still a bunch of fired up Bronco fans and fired up Broncos around you as they held on to win it. Jimmy, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chris. The fans refuse to leave here in Mile High Stadium. It's the first time in 10 years that they've been able to celebrate their team going into the Super Bowl. We got two of the amigos here. We got Mark Jackson and Ricky Nattiel. Mark, your game, you had a big play right there after the Browns had cut it to 11 points. You broke it back wide open to 18. Talk about the play where you ran for the touchdown. You're out of breath there. You barely made it.
John Elway. I mean, we were caught dead, and he started scrambling, and I, got open. And all I was thinking was first down, get the first down. And I shook the first tackle, and then the only person I saw left was Wright. And managed to get by him. I was out of gas, though, because I came from the other side of the field and managed to make it into the end zone.
Mark, you guys were barely able to hold on. What went through your minds? Just an awesome comeback today by Cleveland.
We knew it was going to be a dogfight. When we started off, I was like, this is too easy. And sure enough, the third quarter, they come out and score 21 points. So we weren't going to be denied today.
Ricky Nattiel, you jumped in and started for Vance Johnson today. How much did you guys miss Vance? A lot was said during the week that when Vance went down, there went the three amigos, but the other two really picked it right up.
Well, first of all, Vance is, he's a great player, and anytime you lose a good player and a starter, it kind of hurts your offense a little. But on the other hand, I looked at it as, hey, maybe people forget that I can possibly come in and pick up the slack. And it was kind of an added thing for me to go in and try to pick up the slack for him, but I played a lot harder than I probably usually would have.
Ricky, a big play by you on third down in the drive that set up the winning touchdown. Discuss that play. You just caught it right on the end of your fingertip.
Well, what it was, we had a crossing route, and we were just trying to get them confused a little, and hopefully we were going to get man-to-man coverage. It was the exact same play that I caught earlier in the first half and ran down to the one, and they did give us man coverage, and I just tried to beat him across the field, and John threw he made the throw out in front of me, and I was able to pull it in and get the first. I should have stayed in bounds there, but I was so excited, just kind of forgot about staying in bounds, but I guess the main thing was I got the first.
Ricky, how important was it for you guys to take advantage of those early Cleveland turnovers?
Well, if you look at the end of the game, you'll see how important it was, Without those, who knows what would have happened. Because, those guys, they came back in the second half, and they just kept scoring and scoring and scoring. So we needed the points that we had early.
Mark, your feeling when Ernest Binder fumbled the ball going in here would have tied the game.
Oh, boy, I couldn't even run out on the field. My legs just went from under me. The whole second half, I was playing for a turnover, and we never seemed to get it, and they were driving. And when that ball came out, for some reason, I knew we were going to get it as soon as it came out. And sure enough, Jeremiah came out of the pile with it. Probably the smallest guy on the field came out of the pile with it. And that's just the character of this team.
Mark, what is it about you and the Cleveland Browns? You seem to have your biggest days. Last year, you caught the touchdown pass in the drive. This week, today, big play after big play.
I think those guys deserve to be commended. They came out, Dixon and Minifield came out fired up, and that just set the tone of the game. And the rest of the game went just like that. We were knocking heads back and forth. They were cussing.